Saturday mornings in 1977 meant one thing: settling in front of the television with a bowl of cereal to watch your favorite heroes in action. For Batman fans, that year brought something special. These are The New Adventures of Batman, 1977, 15 Wild Facts You Didn't Know. Number 15. Adam West and Burt Ward returned after 9 years. When The New Adventures of Batman premiered on CBS on February 12, 1977, it marked the first time Adam West and Burt Ward had returned to their iconic roles since the live-action series ended in 1968. 9 years had passed, but the moment they stepped into the recording booth, that familiar chemistry came right back. West brought his distinctive authoritative voice to Batman, while Ward captured Robin's youthful enthusiasm, complete with those memorable, holy exclamations. This was a big deal for fans who'd grown up watching the dynamic duo on ABC and were now seeing reruns on local stations. By 1977, the 1960s Batman series had become a cultural touchstone, introducing a new generation to the Caped Crusader. Having the actual voices of Batman and Robin made the cartoon feel like a true continuation, even though the animation style was completely different from live action. Number 14. Two Batmans battled for Saturday morning supremacy. 1977 created a bizarre situation that had never happened before in animation history. Two different studios were producing Batman cartoons at exactly the same time. Filmation's The New Adventures of Batman aired on CBS, while Hanna-Barbera's The All-New Super Friends Hour ran on ABC. This meant kids could actually watch two different versions of Batman on the same Saturday morning. The main difference came down to the voices. Filmation had West and Ward, while Hanna-Barbera employed Olin Soule and Casey Kasem, who had voiced Batman and Robin for Filmation's earlier 1968 cartoon series. When Hanna-Barbera hired them away for Super Friends, Filmation responded by going directly to the source and hiring the original live-action actors. For many viewers, the choice came down to tone. The New Adventures of Batman felt more like a direct continuation of the 1960s series, with its focus on Batman and Robin as the main heroes, while Super Friends presented them as part of a larger superhero team. The competition ultimately benefited Batman fans, who got twice the Caped Crusader content every Saturday morning. Number 13. Character rights were carved up between rival studios. The competition between Filmation and Hanna-Barbera got even more complicated when it came to villains. Hanna-Barbera had secured exclusive rights to use the Riddler and Scarecrow for their Challenge of the Super Friends series, meaning Filmation couldn't use those characters at all. In return, Filmation had exclusive rights to the Joker, preventing Hanna-Barbera from including Batman's arch-nemesis in their Legion of Doom lineup despite originally planning to. This split forced both studios to get creative with their villain lineups. Each studio had to carefully track which villains they could and couldn't use, creating legal headaches that occasionally showed up on screen. Interestingly, the Riddler does appear briefly in The New Adventures of Batman opening credits wearing a pink costume, even though he never showed up in an actual episode. This was likely because the opening was animated before the rights issues were fully sorted out. The character was also mentioned in dialogue during the episode The Deep Freeze, but viewers never actually saw him. Number 12. Bat-Mite replaced Alfred as Batman's sidekick. One of the biggest changes from previous Batman adaptations was the complete absence of Alfred Pennyworth, Bruce Wayne's faithful butler and father figure. This makes The New Adventures of Batman the only Batman adaptation in history where Alfred doesn't appear in any form. His role was completely eliminated, leaving Batman and Robin to manage Wayne Manor on their own. Instead, Filmation added Bat-Mite, a well-meaning but troublesome imp from another dimension called Ergo. Bat-Mite had appeared in Batman comics during the late 1950s and early 1960s, first showing up in Detective Comics number 267 in 1959, created by Bill Finger and Sheldon Moldoff. The character emerged during a period when DC Comics was taking a more science fiction approach, presented as a magical being from the fifth dimension with reality-warping powers. He'd been phased out of the comics for about a decade before this cartoon brought him back. The character wore his own miniature version of Batman's costume and possessed green skin like all inhabitants of his home dimension. He considered himself Batman's biggest fan and would pop up at the most inconvenient moments trying to help solve cases, usually making everything worse with his magical interference. The character fit perfectly with Filmation's tradition of adding diminutive, comedic sidekicks to their shows. Number 11. Lou Scheimer voiced Bat-Mite and nearly everyone else. Filmation founder and producer Lou Scheimer didn't just create the show, he voiced Bat-Mite using a harmonizer to achieve that distinctive high-pitched, impish tone. The harmonizer was audio equipment that altered the pitch of Scheimer's voice electronically, creating Bat-Mite's unique childlike sound. But Scheimer also provided voices for dozens of minor characters throughout the series, including Matt Hagen's Clayface in some episodes, various guards, soldiers, gangsters, carnival barkers, police officers, news reporters, and even a sneezing clam in one underwater adventure. This multi-character approach saved Filmation significant money while allowing Scheimer to stay involved with every aspect of production. Scheimer was legendary in the animation industry for quickly jumping between characters during recording sessions, often performing multiple roles in a single scene. For fans of Filmation's other shows, Scheimer's voice became a familiar presence. He performed similar duties on He-Man, She-Ra, and numerous other productions. Number 10. Only 4 actors received voice credit. Despite having dozens of characters across 16 episodes, The New Adventures of Batman credited only 4 voice actors: Adam West as Batman, Burt Ward as Robin, Melendi Britt as Batgirl, and Lenny Weinrib, who voiced literally everyone else. Weinrib's workload was staggering. He played Commissioner Gordon, the Joker, the Penguin, Mr. Freeze, Catwoman, Electro, the Chameleon, Zarbor, Moonman, Professor Bubbles, and countless henchmen and bit parts. This minimalist approach was typical of Saturday morning cartoons in the 1970s, where tight budgets meant versatile actors had to populate entire cities with distinct voices. Weinrib brought remarkably different voices to each villain. The Joker got a manic, high-pitched laugh. The Penguin received a posh accent with rolled R's, and that quacking cackle reminiscent of Burgess Meredith. Mr. Freeze spoke with an icy, deliberate tone, and Catwoman purred through every line. Weinrib had extensive experience in animation, having performed in numerous Filmation and Hanna-Barbera productions throughout the 1960s and 1970s. Number 9. The show introduced several original villains. While classic Batman rogues like the Joker, Penguin, Catwoman, Mr. Freeze, and Clayface all appeared, Filmation created several original villains specifically for the series. Sweet Tooth was a candy-obsessed criminal who sabotaged Gotham City's water supply by replacing it with chocolate syrup. His hideout was located in a candy warehouse. Electro wielded electrical powers and became one of the more visually striking villains. Professor Bubbles attempted underwater world conquest. Dr. Devious was a diminutive mad scientist who physically hid inside and controlled the Chameleon, an android capable of transforming into vehicles and objects. Moonman was an outer space criminal who glowed with eerie light. Zarbor served as an evil version of Bat-Mite from the dimension of Ergo. None of these characters ever appeared in the mainstream Batman comics, making them exclusive to this animated series. Sweet Tooth did make a brief cameo decades later in Batman, the Brave and the Bold. The original villains helped pad out the roster since Filmation couldn't use certain established Batman rogues due to licensing restrictions. Number 8. Robin's costume had a unique design choice. Sharp-eyed viewers noticed something different about Robin's costume in this series. The colors of the R symbol on his chest were completely inverted from every other version of the character. Instead of the traditional red R on a yellow circle that had been Robin's trademark since his 1940 debut, this version featured a yellow R on a red circle. The inversion was immediately noticeable to anyone familiar with Robin's classic look, but no explanation was ever given for this change, either in the show itself or by Filmation's production team. The costume redesign remained consistent throughout all 16 episodes, suggesting it was an intentional artistic choice rather than an error. Some speculate it was done simply to make this version of Robin visually distinct from other contemporary versions, particularly the one appearing on Super Friends. Others think it might have been an attempt to modernize the character for the 1970s or make him more visually striking in animation. The inverted R was just one of several visual updates Filmation made to modernize the characters while keeping them recognizable to longtime fans. Commissioner Gordon also received a significant makeover, finally appearing with white hair and a mustache to match his comic book appearance from the 1970s, rather than the dark-haired, clean-shaven version that had been seen in the 1960s live-action series. These changes helped distinguish the animated series from its live-action predecessor while maintaining overall continuity. Number 7. Filmation used rotoscoping for fluid animation. To make the animation more dynamic and lifelike, Filmation employed rotoscoping, a technique where animators trace over live-action footage frame by frame to create smooth, realistic movement. This involved filming real actors performing specific actions, then using that footage as a reference guide for the animated characters. The rotoscoped sequences gave the characters noticeably more fluid motion than what viewers saw in competing shows like Super Friends, which relied on limited animation. When Batman threw a punch or Robin executed an acrobatic flip, the movement looked and felt more natural because it was based on actual human motion. However, true to Filmation's cost-cutting methods, these rotoscoped sequences were expensive to create, so they quickly became stock footage that was reused extensively. Batman and Robin's exit from the Batmobile via hidden poles became so repetitive that observant kids could predict exactly when it would appear. Despite the repetition, the rotoscoping gave the New Adventures of Batman a distinctly different look from other Saturday morning cartoons. Number 6. Dick Sprang's art style influenced the visual design. The show's character designs were heavily influenced by comic book artist Dick Sprang, whose work defined Batman's visual aesthetic during the 1940s and 1950s. Sprang's style featured bold, clean lines, exaggerated facial expressions, and a slightly cartoonish quality that translated perfectly to animation. The Joker's elongated face with that impossibly wide grin, the Penguin's round body shape with his prominent nose, and Batman's square jaw all reflected Sprang's artistic approach. Even the way capes flowed and action scenes were staged showed Sprang's influence. This influence was so distinctive that when Bruce Timm created the new Batman adventures in the late 1990s, he deliberately paid homage to this Filmation series in the episode Legends of the Dark Knight. That segment recreated the exact character designs, color schemes, and animation style from the 1977 cartoon as a tribute to both the show and Sprang's artwork. Number 5. Every episode ended with a bat message. As was standard for Filmation cartoons throughout the 1970s, every single episode of The New Adventures of Batman concluded with a morality lesson delivered directly to the audience, which the show called a bat message. Batman, Robin, and sometimes Batgirl, or even Bat-Mite, would break the fourth wall to speak directly to young viewers about important life lessons that related to what had happened in that episode's adventure. These messages covered a wide range of topics designed to promote positive behavior and good decision-making. Episodes taught viewers about the importance of education and staying in school, not taking shortcuts or looking for easy solutions to difficult problems, respecting others and their property, staying away from drugs and dangerous substances, telling the truth even when it's difficult, and thinking before acting. The messages were always delivered earnestly, with Batman speaking in his authoritative voice while the camera pushed in for a close-up. The Bat-messages were mandated by networks and parent groups who wanted all children's programming to include educational content and positive moral guidance. Organizations like Action for Children's Television had successfully lobbied for these requirements in the mid-1970s, leading to concerns about violence in Saturday morning cartoons and demands for more educational value. While these messages might seem corny or heavy-handed in retrospect, They were a sincere attempt to teach positive values during an era when television's influence on young viewers was a major concern for parents, educators, and lawmakers. Filmation actually embraced this requirement more than many studios, often crafting their episode plots specifically around the moral lesson they wanted to convey, rather than tacking it on at the end as an afterthought. Number 4, the show only produced 16 episodes. Despite running in various time slots and repackaged formats from 1977 to 1981, a total span of 4 years, The New Adventures of Batman consisted of only 16 original episodes. This makes it the shortest-running Batman animated series ever produced in terms of original content. The original run on CBS lasted from February 12th to May 28th, 1977, just over 3 months of Saturday mornings. Networks in the 1970s often ordered limited episode counts for new shows to test audience interest before committing to larger production runs. However, those 16 episodes were rerun constantly for the next 4 years as part of various programming blocks, meaning Saturday morning viewers saw the same episodes over and over again. The episodes were first paired with Filmation's Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle, as the Batman-Tarzan Adventure Hour, which ran from September 10th, 1977 to September 2nd, 1978 on CBS. Each hero got a half-hour segment within the hour-long program. Then the show became part of the expanded 90-minute Tarzan and the Super 7 block from September 9th, 1978 to August 30th, 1980, still on CBS. This format added several other cartoon segments beyond just Batman and Tarzan, creating a variety show approach to Saturday morning programming. Finally, the series moved to NBC as Batman and the Super 7 from September 27, 1980 to September 5th, 1981, dropping Tarzan but keeping the other superhero segments. Kids who watched regularly probably knew these 16 episodes by heart after seeing them repeated for 4 years straight, but the constant reruns kept Batman visible on Saturday morning television throughout the late 1970s and early 1980s. Number 3. The Joker had a hyena named Giggles. One of the more unusual additions to Batman lore was the Joker's pet hyena, appropriately named Giggles. This cackling animal sidekick appeared with the Joker throughout his episodes, laughing maniacally alongside his master and adding an extra layer of chaos to every scene. The hyena's laugh was just as unhinged as the Joker's own, creating a disturbing duet of madness whenever they appeared together. Giggles was created specifically for The New Adventures of Batman and has no counterpart in the comics or any other Batman media before or since. The character appears to be inspired by the general association between hyenas and villains in animation, where their distinctive cackling laugh makes them natural companions for bad guys. Having Giggles gave the Joker an extra element of unpredictability and menace, suggesting that even animals became as twisted as their master when exposed to his influence. The hyena added visual interest to scenes and provided comic relief during the Joker's schemes. Giggles would often cause mayhem on his own, knocking things over, chasing after heroes, or getting in the way at crucial moments. Sometimes he helped the Joker with his schemes by retrieving stolen items or serving as a distraction. But like Bat-Mite, Giggles sometimes created more problems than he solved, occasionally interfering with the Joker's carefully laid plans. The character fit with Filmation's love of adding animal sidekicks to their shows, though Giggles was notably more sinister than most animal companions in Saturday morning cartoons. Number 2. Catwoman got a completely new costume design. Catwoman's appearance in The New Adventures of Batman was unlike any other version of the character seen before or since. Filmation gave her a unique yellow and orange costume with a much more elaborate cat-themed design than her traditional purple suit. This version featured prominent pointed ears atop her head, long whiskers extending from her mask, visible fangs, and even a functional tail that swished behind her as she moved. The design made her look more feline than any previous interpretation. This costume was completely exclusive to the series and never appeared in the comics or any other Batman adaptation. The bright yellow and orange color scheme made her instantly recognizable and visually distinct from other characters, particularly important in animation, where clear silhouettes and bold colors helped viewers follow the action. Catwoman appeared in 4 episodes throughout the series. Trouble Identity, Curses, Oiled Again, The Chameleon, and Birds of a Feather fool around together. Like in Filmation's earlier 1968 Batman cartoon series, no origin story or alter ego was ever revealed for Catwoman in the New Adventures of Batman. Viewers never learned her real name or saw her without the costume. Her motivations remained simply to steal valuable items, commit elaborate heists, and outwit Batman through her cunning and acrobatic skills. This straightforward approach kept her role simple and understandable for the Saturday morning audience, focusing on action and adventure rather than complex backstory. The lack of any romantic tension or ambiguous morality between Batman and Catwoman in this series contrasts sharply with how their relationship has been portrayed in other media, keeping everything strictly heroic versus villainous. Number 1. Japan got its own opening theme song. When The New Adventures of Batman aired in Japan, it featured a completely different opening and ending sequence with an original theme song performed by the J-pop girl group Su Cream Sue. The Japanese version used more clips from the actual episodes rather than the specially animated opening sequence that American viewers saw every week. This gave Japanese audiences a better preview of what they'd actually see in each episode while the song played. This practice of creating localized theme songs for anime and international cartoons was extremely common in Japan during the 1970s and 1980s, where studios and networks wanted programming to feel more culturally familiar to their audiences. Japanese broadcasters believed that having a catchy J-pop theme song would make imported shows feel less foreign and more accessible to local viewers. The custom songs often had lyrics that didn't necessarily match the original show's themes or tone, but they were designed to be memorable and help build an audience. The Japanese opening gave The New Adventures of Batman a distinctly different feel while keeping the actual episode content completely identical. No dialogue was changed, and the stories remained exactly as they aired in America, but that opening sequence created a whole new first impression. For American fans who later discovered these alternate openings through imports, bootlegs, and eventually the internet, it offered a fascinating glimpse at how the same television show could be packaged and presented in completely different ways, depending on where it aired. The practice demonstrates how international broadcasting worked in an era before global media distribution became standardized, when each country could customize imported content to suit local tastes and expectations. If you enjoyed discovering these wild facts about the New Adventures of Batman from 1977, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more nostalgic deep dives into classic Saturday morning cartoons. Leave a comment below telling us if you remember watching this show and which villain was your favorite.